In the northern mountains of Argentina, where the jungle blends with silence and animals still command, lived a dog named Morocho. He was not an ordinary dog. His muscular body, his white coat like chalk, and his attentive gaze made him seem like a living statue. He was an Argentine DOGO, bred not only to protect but to confront. Morocho didn't bark for pleasure, didn't chase shadows. He observed, thought, and when he acted, he did so with decision. He belonged to the Verdugo family, country people accustomed to the harshness of rural life. Each day brought a new challenge: storms, snakes, wild boars, but no one imagined what was about to come. That day seemed calm. The sun bathed the dirt roads and the leaves danced with the wind. Two girls went out to the forest with a simple mission: gather figs before lunch. It was something they did often, without fear. But in the jungle, everything can change in a second. Among the trees, something moved, silent, lethal, with steps as soft as air, but with dark intentions. There were no adults nearby, no one else. Just nature and a danger no one saw coming. And then Morocho stood up. What happened in the following minutes became legend among the villagers. Some tell it in whispers, others with tears in their eyes. But everyone agrees on one thing: that day, a dog did the unthinkable. The Verdugo ranch stretched between green hills, wooden fences worn by time, and fruit trees that sprouted life amid the silence. There, where the countryside and jungle embrace, everything seemed at peace. But as the old people of the region know, when the mountain falls silent, it's because something is coming. Sophia, 10 years old, and her friend Yoli, 11, were inseparable. They grew up among animals, mud, horses, and fig trees. Running barefoot through the bushes was part of their routine, as if the forest were just another yard of the house. They knew no fear, only adventures, laughter, and stories the adults told at nightfall. That day, after breakfast, they decided to go out early. "Let's get figs," said Yoli. With a wicker basket and faces lit by innocence, they walked away down the path that snaked between the trees. Morocho, as usual, watched them from afar. He was lying near the shed next to his owner, Julius Verdugo. With his ears alert and body still as stone, he observed everything, always. He didn't bark, didn't move, just followed the girls with his gaze until they disappeared into the vegetation. The heat rose. The birds sang, and the sound of small steps faded into the echo of the mountain. But what no one knew was that something else had awakened that day. From high on a thick branch, two yellow eyes followed every movement. Eyes that didn't blink. Eyes that calculated distances, movements, innocence. It was a shadow in silence. A spot among the leaves. An agile body, strong, trained by the jungle to kill without warning. The girls kept laughing, unaware of everything. The basket was already half full, and the forest seemed to smile at them. But then the wind changed. The birdsong stopped. And in 1 second, the forest became a very, very dangerous place. The silence was so sudden it echoed, as if the forest itself had held its breath. Sophia and Yoli looked at each other for an instant. Something wasn't right. The trees were still there. The sun still shone, but the birdsong was gone. Even the wind seemed to have hidden. "Did you hear that?" asked Yoli, clutching the basket tightly. Sophia shook her head, but her eyes were already searching through the bushes. Then they felt it. Not a sound, but a presence. Heavy, dense, as if the air itself had become thick. A branch cracked. It was barely a whisper, but enough to awaken an ancestral instinct. Both girls froze. And then, from above, the shadow fell. A tearing roar shattered the silence into 1,000 pieces. The puma launched itself from a thick branch, its hind legs pushing hard, its front claws extended like hungry knives. It was a lightning bolt of muscle, fangs, and burning eyes. Yoli screamed. Sophia fell to her knees, covering herself with her arms. The fig basket, its contents rolling on the ground like drops of blood. The puma landed with a dry thud, its eyes fixed on the girls. It showed no doubt, no mercy. It was a killer made by nature. It took a step. Yoli tried to back away but tripped on a root. She fell on her back, her face pale, breath trapped in her throat. The puma crouched. It was ready. And then something changed. A new sound emerged from deep in the path. A dry, constant thump approaching at full speed, like a war drum in the middle of the forest. And then a roar not sharp like the puma's, but deep, powerful. A roar that didn't come from a wild beast but from a guardian. It was as if the jungle recognized that sound, as if the ground itself trembled at its presence. Between the trees, like a white arrow launched by fury, Morocho appeared. His eyes were lit, his body tense. And when he saw the puma, he didn't hesitate, didn't bark, didn't waver, didn't seek help. He ran and launched himself against the beast. The impact was brutal, a clash of worlds. One wild by nature, the other wild by love. The impact shook the earth. Morocho crashed against the puma like a white bullet, driven by something stronger than instinct, love. The feline let out a roar between surprise and fury. It fell to the side, spun on the ground like a living shadow, and reincorporated in a second, showing its fangs and fury intact in its yellow eyes. The tension was so dense the air seemed motionless. The puma arched its back, showed its claws, and jumped. A long jump, feline, precise. Morocho didn't move. He waited, and in the last second, he threw himself sideways and counterattacked, sinking his jaws into the feline's paw with terrifying force. The puma's shriek was sharp, violent, but it didn't stop. It spun on itself, tore the dog's back with a long, deep claw. Morocho let out a muffled growl, staggered, but didn't fall. With his eyes fixed on his enemy, he charged again. It was a clash of titans. The puma had speed, sharp fangs, wild blood. But Morocho had something that couldn't be measured. Courage, loyalty, a fury that wasn't born from fear, but from determination to protect. The girls watched, unable to move. Yoli with her hands over her mouth, trembling. Sophia hugging a tree, her eyes full of tears. The puma launched again, this time straight for the dog's neck. It pushed him hard, made him fall, and lunged on top, trying to immobilize him. Morocho struggled, twisted his neck, and with a dry movement managed to free himself. With exposed fangs, he bit the feline's ear and tore it off completely. The puma's scream was heartbreaking. Both animals were wounded. They bled, breathed with difficulty. Their bodies marked by the fight, but neither backed down. The puma tried to retreat, seeking height, seeking advantage. It climbed onto a low rock, but Morocho followed it. He wouldn't let it escape, wouldn't let it attack again. They launched one more time. A dry crash, brutal. Morocho's head crashed against the puma's side and brought it down. This time the dog fell on top, bit its neck, holding it with relentless pressure. The puma struggled, twisted, threw desperate swipes, but Morocho didn't let go. His eyes showed no hate. They showed determination. Time seemed to stop. The entire jungle watched in silence. Finally, the puma stopped resisting, defeated, wounded. It dragged itself through the leaves and disappeared into the thickness, leaving a trail of blood. Morocho remained standing for a few more seconds. His chest rose and fell like a bellows. His white coat now stained red. His paws trembled. And then he took a step toward the girls. Yoli approached first, trembling. She put a fearful hand on his head. Morocho looked at her and moved his tail, just once. Sophia ran to him and hugged him. The dog didn't react, just let his body's weight fall, exhausted but at peace. He had fulfilled his mission. And in that moment, the girls knew something they would never forget. They hadn't been saved by a dog. They had been saved by a warrior. The forest was left behind, but fear still walked with them. Sophia and Yoli kept moving forward, step by step, in silence, as if they didn't want to wake the jungle's fury again. Morocho accompanied them, his gaze fixed ahead, his breathing heavy, his paws stained with dry blood. Every so often he stumbled, but didn't stop. The sun descended on the horizon, tinting the sky orange and purple. And the path they had walked so many times as part of the game now felt eternal. When the house's silhouette appeared among the trees, Sophia burst into tears, not from fear, but from relief. Yoli dropped the basket without realizing it, let her body fall to her knees on the ground and hugged Morocho, who could barely stay standing. In the field, Ulysses Verdugo was hammering an old fence when he heard a scream. He lifted his head and his heart stopped for an instant. He ran toward the road without thinking. Seeing the girls covered in dirt, with swollen eyes, dirty faces, and trembling, he knew something terrible had happened. But nothing prepared him for what he saw next. Morocho, his most faithful dog, his inseparable companion, returned with a torn body, open wounds, but his eyes shining as always. He walked slow but firm, proud, alive. "What happened?" shouted Ulysses. The words tumbled from the girls' mouths. They said, "A monster, a huge thing. It wanted to kill us. It jumped from above. We thought we were going to die." And among all the chaos, among tears and tremors, one word repeated itself: Morocho. The man knelt beside the dog, unable to believe what he saw. He touched the back covered in wounds. Observed the claw marks, the dry blood, the torn ear. Morocho looked at him and moved his tail once, very slowly. It was more than enough. "My champion," whispered Ulysses, his voice broken. "You're an angel, brother." The entire family came running out when they heard the commotion. Sophia's mother let out a choked scream seeing the girls and the dog in that state. But when she understood what had happened, she fell to her knees and began praying in a low voice. Among sobs, the veterinarian arrived shortly after. He looked at Morocho like someone observing a soldier wounded in battle. He examined him calmly, with respect. While they cleaned his wounds and stitched the deepest ones, the dog didn't complain once. He just closed his eyes, breathing slowly, as if he were at peace. "This dog didn't fight by instinct," said the veterinarian while applying the stitches. "He fought because he knew what he was doing." The word spread faster than the wind. In less than a week, the story was already being told on local radios, in rural schools, at fairs. Neighbors arrived to see the brave dog. They brought meat, medicines, caresses. But Morocho didn't seek attention, wasn't interested in fame. His reward was seeing the girls healthy, playing again, and knowing they were safe. From then on, nothing was the same at the Verdugo ranch. Every sunset, when the golden rays touched the hills, Ulysses would go out with a wooden chair, sit next to Morocho, and simply watch the horizon. Sometimes they said nothing. It wasn't necessary. Both knew that between them there was no longer a bond of owner and dog. What united them was much stronger. The years passed as seasons pass in the countryside, slow, sincere, inevitable. The girls grew into young women. The ranch aged with them. The trees grew a little more. The fences wore down. And the old tracks from that day among the leaves were erased by time. But the memory that one didn't leave, Morocho also aged. His walk became more measured. His back, covered in scars, now also carried the weight of years. His paws, once fast and firm, sometimes trembled with the morning cold. But none of that took away his serene gaze. Deep, watchful, he remained the ranch's guardian. Although he no longer ran after calves or escorted Ulysses through the field, his presence was enough. Just by being there, he filled the place with peace. Sometimes he would lie next to the gallery, observing the horizon for hours. Some said he was remembering, others that he was still waiting for a new danger that might arise, waiting for a new opportunity to protect. But the truth is, Morocho had already done the impossible. And now finally, he could rest. Sofia and Yoli grew up, went to study, got to know the world beyond the mountains, but they always returned. And when they did, before hugging their parents, they looked for Morocho. They found him sleeping under the old fig tree, his head on his paws, eyes half open. "Hello, hero," Yoli would say, kneeling beside him. And Morocho, now old, would lift his tail once. Just once. It was his way of saying, "I'm here. I still watch over you." The story of Morocho had spread beyond the province. It came to be told at rural fairs, on radio programs, on internet pages. Articles were written. Some journalists traveled to the Verdugo ranch to meet him. They took photos of the white dog who one day faced a puma to save 2 girls. But neither the flashes, nor the interviews, nor the applause changed Morocho. He didn't need fame, didn't understand tributes. His glory wasn't in headlines but in the hearts of those who knew him. Because Morocho wasn't a brave dog by chance. He was brave because his love was greater than his fear. One day, like all beings who walk this earth, Morocho fell asleep and didn't wake up. It was a calm morning. The sky was blue and the wind brought the smell of freshly cut grass. Ulysses found him under the usual tree, his head erect, eyes closed, and an expression of rest, as if he had chosen that moment, as if he knew his mission was complete. The entire family cried, not with the desperate cry of an unjust loss, but with the deep cry of someone saying goodbye to a noble soul. It wasn't just a dog leaving, it was a brother, a protector, a symbol. They buried him under the fig tree, in the same place where Sofia and Yoli had been that day. They planted wild flowers around him, and on a stone they carved a single word, gracias, because nothing more needed to be said. Today, when Sofia and Yoli's children run down the same path, their mothers tell them the story. They point to the tree, the stone, the road, and they say, "Here lived Morocho, here he fought, here he protected." And the children listen with wide eyes, with ignited imagination, as if hearing an ancient legend. Because that's what Morocho is now, a legend, a real story that seems like a tale. Because sometimes heroes don't carry swords, don't have capes or armor, or names written in books. Sometimes true heroes walk on 4 legs, with their heads held high, firm gaze, and a heart full of love. Morocho wasn't just any dog. He was the jungle's guardian, the protector of innocence, the silent warrior. And as long as someone remembers him, Morocho will never die.